Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina and you're watching an episode of K-Pop Investigations, where we basically take a little bit of a gander, a bit of a deep dive into a specific subject, and then I share with you my final thoughts featuring very scientific results. And today I wanted to touch on the idea of idols being paid to like each other. Now I know every fandom is going to stop me and say, but wait, Angelina. Actually, my group love each other. They would take a bullet for each other. They love each other to the moon and back. They consider each other family. And I would then ask you, when is the last time you got along with your family? Because I promise you, if I had to pretend to love my family 24/7, there better be a check involved. There's a very important thing to understand right off the bat, and that is being an idol is a job. Being an entertainer is a form of employment. And just like any other job, there are certain boundaries. You would expect your idol to be happy on camera and entertain you. And if you were to have a fan call with them, you would expect them to be nice to you. That's part of the job description. But in that same breath, it would be inappropriate to put a tracking device on their car. You know what I mean? You know, there's a reason you're not going out to lunch with these people. I mean, they probably think you're weird enough with the shit you pull at fan signs. Can you imagine lunch with them? What are you even going to talk about? Tell me, what are you even going to talk about? I made a 20-minute edit of you. Here's an edit I made of you with a parrot, please. Thank God there are boundaries. That's all I have to say. However, just like any other job, you are going to be faced with people that you don't like, that you don't get along with. And if we as consumers could understand that being an idol is more in line with, say, customer service, then I think it could make everyone's lives a little bit easier. It would be so much easier to comprehend why things are generally the way that they are. Why idols have a quote-unquote customer service voice, why they don't show that they're in pain or having a bad day, because it's deemed inappropriate to do otherwise. And I'm not saying I agree with capitalism, but it unfortunately exists. My point is, idols can love each other all they want, they can hate each other all they want. Falling out, not agreeing with someone, having fundamental differences that make you incompatible with someone is just normal. It's part of everyday life. And when you put very different people in a group with very different upbringings and have them live together with very little support from their families under very stressful jobs, of course people are not going to always get along. You don't even get along with yourself. That felt like a jab at me. In fact, controversially, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Some of your favorite idols in the same group hate each other, and you will likely never know about it because it's their job to not have you know about it. It's part of their job description to make you feel comfortable. Now, before anyone misunderstands, again, I know people are gonna be like, no, my idols are totally friends. You can't fake so-and-so's friendship. Have you heard of Usam? Listen, I am not saying that every single idol fakes being friends with each other. In fact, you would expect a certain level of closeness if you've been training with certain people for a period of years. I'm sure we've all heard about the K-pop trainee system by now. I don't really need to take you through it. In that same breath, though, that same training process can also be the cause of some resentment. I mean, imagine being the member that is always pushed to the back or having to be in constant competition with the people you're closest to only to have them drop like flies around you. Or the possibility of you yourself not doing well enough and being kicked out. Of course, you'd expect some resentment from that. You'd probably be constantly compared to your peers, and then to an extent that would inevitably continue after debut, with some fans pointing out how one member is more favored than another or how this member is mistreated, with some members even having more expensive photo cards, some members seemingly having more success and opportunities. You know, there has to be tension somewhere. It could be as simple as someone getting more lines than you, better outfits than you. And without a doubt, fans will exacerbate these perceived issues whether they exist or not. To the point that if it wasn't an issue to begin with, I'm sure it ended up causing tension along the way. But I'm going to bring up a point that I mentioned in another video I made of how we don't actually know idols. And that point is, when you're in a professional setting and you're likely being watched by a lot of cameras, by a lot of people, you need to put your best foot forward. So even if you love someone and you're mad at them only for that moment, only on that day, you still got to make it seem like you've never been mad at them in your life. And if your fans count on you as a form of escapism, if you're a source of enjoyment out of their life, then of course you wouldn't want to put your own stresses onto them. Not that it's any of our business, right? Fans will of course always try to make sure it's their business, but idols do not owe you any part of their personal lives. Some will offer it up anyways. However, airing your dirty laundry is not always the best of looks, which is why companies will try their hardest to hide instances of disagreement. Because if we knew every single time that idols didn't get along, I assure you, it would be a mess. Not only that, but it would reflect really badly on the group. And I'll go into detail as to the reasons why it reflects badly on the group. But first, I want to give you a little hypothetical. I want you to put yourself in an idol's position, right? Do you personally, in your daily life, get along with every single person you come across? Get along with every single one of your friends all the time? Get along with every single family member? I feel like some people are going to say yes. Maybe I was raised wrong, but someone could literally look at me for 1 second too long and I'll be like, I need to rip my skin off and I feel like you should move out. But I mean, I can guarantee you at least at one point in your life, you've been mad at someone. And it is a little odd that we hold idols to such a different standard, because you wouldn't ask yourself why such a human emotion, such as anger, or plain pettiness sometimes, maybe being a little bit of a brat. You know, within reason, we're not addressing cases of actual bullying right now. But why would otherwise normal instances of falling out with someone or disagreeing with someone be such a huge deal? If you and I had a falling out, it wouldn't affect much, would it? But if an idol and another idol had a falling out, it would be very disadvantageous. It wouldn't be good. So let's talk about those disadvantages for a minute. So disadvantage number 1, unprofessionalism. Again, do I agree with capitalism? Absolutely not. Lest I go on a rant, simply put, it's part of an idol's job description to be part of a cohesive group. If you are known to not get along with people, you are ruining the image of that group. So if you maintain that image of being a good cohesive group and people get along, it's beneficial for everyone. It's beneficial for the company who is profiting off of you. It's beneficial for the fans who take enjoyment and entertainment off of watching you. And if everyone seems happy, then all is good, right? Because if a member seems stressed, then, you know, fans might take that upon themselves as well and take that as their own stress. Reason number 2, it's not good for idols to publicly not get along with each other, is because fans love to hate somebody. They need someone to hate. If you give K-pop fans a reason to hate someone, they will go ham on that person. They'll ruin lives. They don't care. An idol just has to say one word and all bets are off. It doesn't even need to be true. People just love going along with the crowd. They don't even fact check anything. Fans are willing to ruin lives in the name of an idol, as long as they get that personal sense of justice by bullying people they don't know. We've seen it before, and I'm sure a lot of people will remember Tiara, which was my personal first encounter with bullying accusations. You know, honestly, the accusations are pretty devastating to the group, and at that time, even though I wasn't sure of the validity of everything, even though I didn't understand the story entirely, whether it was true or not, the members of Tiara were painted as bullies. It didn't matter if it was true or not, they were painted as bullies. It ruined their image, and suddenly everyone is pointing out actions, everything that each member had done. Looking into details, things that weren't an issue in the past are now issues because people decided it was an issue. We just love having someone to hate. We love having a villain to the story. And even if someone's actions at the time were super funny and we didn't see any issue with it, we'll find issue with it after the fact. We'll switch it completely in a heartbeat to find issue with it in retrospect. And the truth is, sometimes we'll never know. Sometimes we will never know what actually happened, and all we can do is try to make sense of it on our own. But sometimes we cause a lot of havoc by doing that. We wreak a lot of havoc. Ugh. So yeah, of course it's part of an idol's job description to make it seem like they get along, even if they're not, even if they've never gotten along, even if they mostly get along, but in that moment they're mad at each other. Because fans will blow anything out of proportion if they have the chance to get a sense of justice, that they're doing something that is honorable, that is noble in this world. A more recent example is Fatu and Leah from Black Swan. Now, I maintain that it's instances like this that get idols revoked the privilege of having free reign over social media, because this is very much a Tiara situation all over again. If you didn't remember with the Tiara situation, you know, members were on Twitter and liking things and tweeting things that seemed like they were subtweeting someone, but then, like, you know, who knows what they really meant. The point is, sometimes we want to express ourselves and we do subtweet people, but it can cause a huge misunderstanding and thusly a scandal. And again, it's not that people shouldn't be allowed to express themselves, right? In an ideal world, things wouldn't be as strict. But because some scandals have been so ridiculous because an idol liked something or an idol tweeted something that was misunderstood, of course companies are gonna, rein it in a little bit, right? Do we all remember a few years ago, Miss Rosé from Blackpink liked an Instagram post? And, it was about like life lessons. I don't even remember, but everyone was on that shit. Suddenly, this innocent Instagram post that she liked turned into her shading YG Entertainment. Everyone was suddenly mad at YG Entertainment, and people brought her dad into it. And all she did was like her friend's post. That's all she did, and suddenly it's reflecting badly on YG Entertainment, which then in turn reflects badly on her. And fans don't get that because fans are defending her against her evil company that does not let her express herself. But can you imagine all the unspoken things that happen as a result of that? All she wanted to do was like a friend's post. And then suddenly everyone is hating on the company that she works for. Of course, that is going to cause friction. Of course, the company is going to be a little bit stricter on things, right? But fans don't get that. And they don't understand that sometimes they make things awkward between an idol and someone that the idol is collaborating with, or an idol in their own company. Even though the companies probably should. I'm not here defending companies. I don't know where I was going with that. My point is, idols, in theory, should be able to freely communicate on social media as much as they want. But we know, because of fans' reactions to things, that if they did, it would break the internet. Or an even more ridiculous example of fans exacerbating a situation that really wasn't meant to be anything to begin with. So as we all know, BTS recently opened their own Instagram accounts, and it seems that V accidentally followed Jennie. Now, under normal circumstances, who really cares, right? It's an idol following another idol. There are plenty of idols who follow each other. However, it's actually being covered in the K-pop news community how much hate Jennie is receiving because of this, when really there was no malicious intent to begin with. These are just some examples of an idol having absolutely zero intentions of doing anything, of sending any type of message, not even trying to subtweet anyone, them just living their lives. And fans taking it upon themselves to fix an issue that wasn't there to begin with, and thusly causing waves of hate. And then we have the audacity to sit here and wonder why idols are so distanced from us. We have the audacity to wonder why they don't interact with us as much, why they don't interact with other people as much. And really, it's because we don't know how to act. Anyways, digressing. But back to Leah and Fatou. Now, I don't know what happened between them, and I'm on nobody's side. We're just talking about this at face value, okay? Objectively, we're going to talk about the situation, and that's that. I don't need to be cancelled again. I've been doing real good the last 6 months. So it seems Leah had a fan site who leaked conversations with a family member who accused Fatou of bullying her. And then Fatou allegedly wrote a series of statements explaining how she really felt about Leah. And it was truly a whole mess. Because, before all of this happened, we could have assumed that Black Swan got along. We could assume that they were a cohesive group. We didn't know them. We don't know them personally. We don't know any of these groups personally. But we can always assume. And again, I talked about this in my video of how we don't know idols. As long as someone stays quiet about something, we can give them the benefit of the doubt. We can assume the best of them, right? But as soon as they open their mouths, there is no going back. So even though DR Music Entertainment released a statement saying that, they put their troubles behind them, they've realized how important they are to each other, there's no turning back now. But when people take sides, they take sides. There's no nuance to anything. The narrative has been painted and this is what it is. These are the consequences of it. Black Swan is no longer a cohesive group. It is a group that people want a member out of. So it's a little hard to come back from having broken that unspoken rule. And I have no doubt that it's possible, but it'll take a little bit of work to, really convince people that they're getting along, that this isn't a business transaction. Before, you could assume they're all friends, they're all organically, magically friends. You could assume that for a lot of K-pop groups, but after something like this happens, it's going to take a lot of work to convince people this is not a business transaction, which unfortunately, being in a group is, while understanding that you can be in business with people you consider friends. So again, I'm not saying that idols don't love each other. I'm not saying it's not possible to be actual friends. I mean, hell, have you seen Usam? I would never think in a million years that all idols are pretending to like each other. But I wouldn't even expect from myself to get along with anybody 24/7. That's just unrealistic. Human emotions are incredibly complex. But unfortunately, when you're on the internet, people tend to forget that. People tend to understand the complexity of things, the nuances of things. People tend to forget that things aren't just black and white. I fully believe that Fatu and Leah did not get along, and maybe they didn't get along for very valid reasons. You know, we don't know the full entirety of the story. Maybe they got along on and off. Maybe after this, they genuinely will start getting along, but people will never be able to grasp that concept because from now on, it's OT3. And I think a lot of groups go through this, especially when a member leaves. You know, when a member leaves, again, it affects how we view the cohesiveness of a group. Sometimes they leave because they did some shady things. Sometimes they left and we don't know why. We can just only assume. But leave down in the comments below examples of people leaving their groups and what consequences that had on the group. Some groups are better than ever after someone leaves, but there is no denying that it affects the group. If we think of EXO, you have members leaving left, right, and center. It reflects incredibly badly on the company. You can come back from these things, but it's a little difficult right at the beginning. Think of 21. You know, Minzy left the group and YG Entertainment had plans of possibly continuing as OT3. Had they continued as a 3-member group, I feel like that would have really ruined their momentum. Do I think they could have overcame it? There's no way of really knowing. BAP is another example. As soon as they made that lawsuit, how could we ever trust the company again? So once the lawsuit was over and they ended up staying with that company, it just wasn't the same anymore. And unfortunately, they couldn't overcome that. But at the end of the day, I know for a fact that some idols hate each other. Do you know how many times Key and Mino from SHINee reference each other as members that they don't get along with all the time, with the understanding that they get along now but they didn't before? So it doesn't affect the group if you talk about it in retrospect, right? But there are so many examples of idols who didn't get along at first, and it's more beneficial to talk about it in retrospect because it shows a more human side to you. My conclusion to this video, you ask? Well, people are perfectly complex, and I think that's something that we need to understand a little bit better. So that's basically all I wanted to say. Thank you so much if you made it this far. If you made it this far into the video, I'm losing my voice. Leave a friendship themed emoji in the comments. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. These are the lovely individuals who help support my channel on a monthly basis. It honestly means the world to me, and you can join them too by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. As for me, I'm gonna get going, but I will see you guys next time. Bye!